The early to mid 2000s was a crazy time for video games. They were booming in popularity and every media franchise felt like they needed to get a game adaptation out the door as fast as possible. I'm talking about weird ones like MTV's Pimp My Ride, SeaWorld's ironically named Shamu's Deep Sea Adventures, and yes, the subject of today's video. This was a staple of my childhood. Every holiday season, I watched this movie and played this game non-stop, but I never beat it. So, to bring this year to a close in the best way that I know how, I decided to challenge myself to overcome my childhood failures. Let's see how that goes. Right away, we are greeted with what young me thought was awesome. Seeing exact scenes pulled straight from the movie I loved and be put into the game I am playing. That has to be a stamp of quality, right? Well, this 39 on Metacritic seems to say otherwise. The first actual bit of in-game content you get is the creepy Scrooge puppet, which has a much larger role in this game than in the movie, but anyways, he's talking about stealing everyone's tickets so the conductor throws the children off the train. You, as the player, are tasked with finding these tickets since apparently the other kids aren't capable.
Bye. We'll cover for you while you're gone.
Okay.
They might not be able to find their tickets by themselves.
I'll go and help find your ticket.
So naturally, the first thing I tried to do was jump off the back of the train and end my suffering there, but unfortunately we are trapped in this winter wonderland hell. Accepting our fate and throwing the theory survival of the fittest out the window, we make our way through the train cars to find the tickets and save the children. Scrooge isn't going to let that happen though, so he enlisted an army of weird creepy toys to stop you. It's like the devs saw the one scene from the movie, you know the one I'm talking about, and decided to base their entire game around it to terrorize their main demographic. After flawlessly navigating this hallway of horror, I then had to fight with Augustus Gloop to get him to aim the flashlight where I needed him to. I proceeded to live out my World Cup dreams and then ended up having the longest food fight of my life. Okay, it was only like 3 minutes of gameplay, but when there's only one single sound clip for the entire thing, it felt like an eternity. We then have to do that same exact soccer minigame from before, but it's against Scrooge this time, and I have to hit him 5 times. It was at this point that I really started questioning if I wanted to keep playing, but I persevered. And then ended up playing tennis against a jack-in-the-box. I remember the section being much harder when I was a kid, but since I'm an elite gamer now, I breezed through it. After that hard-fought tennis match, I decided to take a little break and try out that Metal Gear franchise people keep talking about, but I just don't get the hype.
Get out of the kitchen!
Now, I was going to have something like witty to say here, but I hated this section with a passion, and I don't want to think about it, I don't want to talk about it, we're just going to move on. Venting my frustration by playing Whack-A-Jack was cool, but the awkward controls and stupid difficulty really soured this sweet moment. But, you know, it's okay, because things managed to get significantly worse. Remember that scene in the movie where Tom Hanks was going to go sacrifice the child to the ghosts of Christmas because she didn't have her ticket? Or, well, you know, something like that. Well, they decided to turn that into an extended gameplay sequence of you just having to dodge a bunch of random obstacles, and let me tell you, that kid got concussed. A lot. I don't know if Forrest Gump is a Limbo World Champion or something, but there's no reason they should be able to move that fast on top of this train. I wanted to quit playing because there are just some obstacles you seemingly can't avoid unless you backtrack. Combine this with an odd sense of urgency you get from the bar at the bottom of the screen and it can really aggravate you. Unless you're that guy from Metacritic that still replays them to this day. There I was, ready to quit, about to give up on this lifelong goal I've had since last week. But through the blizzard I caught a glimpse of my savior, Tom Hanks' Hobo Man, and there, everything changed. This dumb little ski section with its awful controls actually made me enjoy this game again. Going down the slopes with the simple task of avoiding the obstacles and collecting the coins was just fun. I don't know what it was, but I sat there with a stupid smile on my face enjoying the Polar Express video game, and that wasn't the only time that would happen. Once you jump back onto the train, you have to help the conductors. You go through a dumb little thing of dodging the obstacles to collect the correct part to throw to the right person. This goes on for a little too long, but I don't really have much to complain about. The second part is weird, and where this game just starts doing some strange things. To help the conductors get the train moving, you have to go through a weird choreographed dance of follow the leader. But it's not to music, just metallic clanging and weird grunts. It's super strange, but I got into it and started copying them. Really stupid, but again, I had that huge smile on my face. This isn't the only time this sort of mechanic pops up, but I'll talk about that in a bit. After the train is moving, you are told to go back to your seats, and this raises one of the biggest questions I had about this movie growing up. If they could just get back to their seats by walking through the train, why did they have to climb on top of it in the first place? That does not seem like it would be the logical answer in any situation. But anyways, back to the game. On the way back to your seats is when this game really surprised me. There's a puzzle section, and it's actually kind of clever. Don't get me wrong, it's not difficult, and I definitely could not play a full game of this, but for the Polar Express tie-in game, it was more than welcome. You see, you have to cross this room with an icy floor, but there are boxes blocking the way. You can jump over them, but the person with you can't. So you push the boxes around to clear the way to the exit, and yeah, there's one hitch in that plan. The person with you can only move across the floor if they have a box to push off of. Like I said, it's not the most complex thing, but I'm a sucker for good puzzles, and I can say this was a good puzzle.
Hey, slide this way.
Now we get to the boss fight. Yes, the singular boss fight. It's simple, it's repetitive, it takes far too long, it's repetitive, and I just didn't have fun playing it. It only took like a minute and a half to go through, but I just, again, didn't have fun. Remember a bit ago when I was talking about the weird dance stuff and I said we would get back to it? Well, here we are. They turned the iconic Hot Chocolate musical number into this weird sequence. But again, I had fun, and that stupid smile from before returned.
Up, down, left, spin,
Up, down, left, spin.
up, left, right.
Now, if you've seen this movie, you might be a little confused. Didn't that Hot Chocolate sequence happen earlier? Yes, it did. And I never understood why tie-in games do that. It's not like having the hot chocolate scene later improves the flow of the story in any way. I mean, this game did come out 8 days before the film, but I don't think that would have anything to do with it here, so I just don't understand why they did it. Once you finally get to the North Pole, you are treated with yet another extended sequence pulled straight from the movie. It's almost like they're just trying to pad out the length of this game at this point.
Exactly.
I then went through a slightly enjoyable on-rail section, committed a dozen or so traffic violations, and lived out my Tokyo Drift dreams. Then we got to the worst part of the Polar Express. You thought it was the on top of the train section? Well, think again. The actual worst part is the tube system. You go around endlessly on this track trying to hit all of the switches in the correct order. It doesn't sound so bad, but the controls are awful. I got motion sick from looping around, and sometimes they tell you the next color when you don't have enough time to react, so you just have to wait and hit it next time around the track. Oh yeah, you also have to do this 6 times. One interesting thing I noticed here is the voices of the elves in the movie sequence. Here is how they sound in the game.
Hey, boss, we taking the pneumatic?
Of course we're taking the pneumatic. It's the only way to get to the square on time.
And here is how they sound in the movie.
Hey, boss, are we taking the pneumatic?
Of course we're taking the pneumatic. It's the only way to get to the square on time.
You can tell it's the same voice line, just without audio processing added to it. I love seeing stuff like this in licensed games, and it stems from the fact that most of the time these games are being developed while the movie is still in production. Like I mentioned before, this game came out 8 days before the film was released, so the dev team wouldn't be able to match the final version of the movie since that version just wouldn't exist yet. You know what also doesn't exist? my enjoyment of this puzzle. You have to go around the conveyor belts and flip the switches in the right order to get where you need to go. Except there is no challenge to it, and unlike the other puzzle I praised before, there's nothing interesting or unique about the design. You immediately know what to do and how to do it. You just have to go through the 15 steps to get you there. It's not fun at all, and it's almost like this game was made for children. After that humdrum sequence of events, I was then faced with this mountain of dismay. You know what makes wonky character controls and unreliable hitboxes better? That's right! A platforming section where you have no idea where you are going and can easily fall and lose a good chunk of the progress you had just made. If you can't tell, this segment really got my goat. That's a real saying, by the way. I was already annoyed with the last 2 sections, and I knew I was getting towards the end of the game. I just wanted my little silver bell already. Well, after climbing the mountain of presents, there was just one last thing we needed to do. We gotta get the presents to Santa, of course. Well, Captain Napoleon here thought it was a bright idea to ask a legit child to take over flying the Zeppelin, and for some reason this kid has developed some sort of ego because he's like, oh yeah, I can do that. And he did, until I managed to somehow Austin Powers myself.
Gotta be more careful. This is harder than it looks. Oops.
After the last 30 minutes of monotonous hell, this was a much needed laugh, and honestly, this last section wasn't so bad. There was a timer in the corner, but I have no idea how you could ever be that slow, and the illusion of challenge was just gone, since I had 4 times as many continues than I started the game with. As the great tree slowly faded in, I realized my journey was complete. I did it. I beat the game. Will I do it again? Probably not, but it was a great feeling to beat a game from my childhood, and it is the perfect way to close out this year. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I know this video was a bit different, but I hope you all enjoy it. I hope everyone had a good year, is gearing up for a great next one, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, little late, but yeah, I'm just gonna stop talking now.